Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is once you have a jointer assembled, how do you calibrate it, how do you dial it in so that you get nice 90-degree faces and edges every time you do it. So right here you see a G0490X. I recently upgraded to this 8-inch model. It also has parallelogram beds and gives me a little bit extra capacity. What I upgraded from is this jet model here. This is a 6-inch model. It's the typical dovetail design that you see, and it also has the spiral cutter head here. There's a lot of things I don't like about this model, mostly setup related. So I'm going to talk about setting up the 8-inch jointer, and I'll contrast that with a few of the features, or with a few of the differences when setting up a 6-inch. Make sure you take your guard off, all your blades off, and then the fence needs to come off. And I've already got the back exposed here. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is do the motor and belt checks. So there's 3 things we need to check here: belt condition, belt tension, and also that these 2 pulleys from the cutter head to the motor are coplanar. So the first thing we need to check is that these 2 pulleys are coplanar. And how I do that is I'll just use a straight edge, a ruler, whatever, and I'll just hold it up against one of the pulleys. This is actually a tad short. It should be a little bit longer, maybe 18 inches. But I'll press it up against this pulley down here and just kind of move it up until it's touching this other pulley. And as you can see, it's pretty coplanar. It's actually right on the inside there, but I know my ruler is a tad curved. So as you can see, now we're on the outside. So split the difference. This pulley is in line with this pulley. So if my 2 pulleys were not in line, basically the belt would be stretched like this, one or the other way. And that's going to cause premature belt wear and transfer vibration to the cutter head, which you don't want. To adjust this kind of alignment, basically I need to slide my motor back and forth until it's in line with the cutter head pulley. These can be aligned with the belt, but they can still be, non-coplanar. So how I check that is I just put the straight edge up against the pulleys, and I'll just rotate it and see how close it is, how well it is aligned with the belt. And as you can see here, it maintains about the same amount of spacing. Same thing over here. And I'm gonna do the same thing here. As you can see here, it touches up here, which means our pulley is slightly slanted like that. Or my ruler slightly bent, which is actually the case in this case. Because if I do it the other way, we're further out. Now, if your motor pulley is not coplanar with your cutter head pulley, you have to basically rotate the motor a little bit. I like these new style jointers, or maybe they're not new, but this larger jointer compared to my 6-inch, this is all independent movement for the motor, which is nice. On that 6-inch model, the motor was bolted to the dust chute, which makes it a real pain in the ass to get everything dialed in, because it only moves in one dimension, and then it twists. So you have to do all that all at once. With this, it's got 4 bolts here so that the motor slides back and forth in this manner, and then also up and down on each side. So you can do all those adjustments kind of independently. If these pulleys were not coplanar, meaning maybe this one was tilted one way or another, basically I would just loosen these bolts here and twist the motor until they were. And everything looks pretty good. The belt condition is the next thing we're going to check. What we're doing is checking for any signs of cracking or any other damage to the belt. And this belt looks pretty good. I don't think there's any reason to replace that. So we're just going to go ahead and leave that. Finally, we want to check belt tension. The spec on this from the manual says we want about a 1/4 inch deflection with a moderate amount of pressure that we're going to apply at the middle of the belt. So I'm just going to put my ruler here, apply some pressure, and we got about a little over a ½ inch deflection. Now I know that 1/4 inch deflection, or that ½ inch deflection or so, is a little bit more than spec. However, I also know that this is already adjusted to the motor's weight because I've already loosened all these bolts, pushed down on the motor, and tightened them back up. And the only way that I'm going to get a 1/4 inch deflection here is if I put like a friggin' bottle jack in between the motor and this housing and crank it down. And I already know that this thing runs fine and doesn't slip. The cutter head doesn't slip. Even when doing hardwood, it seems to run fine. So I'm actually not going to mess with it.